Welcome to Create Wealth Through Franchising. I'm your host, Kim Daly. Whether you're a CEO, a military vet, a real estate investor, or simply in career transition and ready to take ownership of your future, with each episode, you're going to learn valuable insights and hear inspiring stories from within the franchise industry. On that note, my guest stories are their own, and as a franchise consultant, I do not make personal brand endorsements or earnings claims, but I do educate, motivate, and inspire dreams. Now, on to the show. Welcome back to Kim Daly TV. For those of you out there who follow Kim Daly, you know that if I am anything, I am a mindset coach. I'm always trying to find the edge. What's the difference between good and great? When I was a little girl, my dad used to tell me, Kimberly, the difference between good and great in anything in life is inches, it's not yards. Now, I was a competitive swimmer growing up, so my dad used to relate it to my swimming, and he'd say, the difference between gold and silver is hundredths of a second. It's not even a full stroke. My special guest with us today, her name is Kaitlin Sandeno. I think I said it wrong. Kaitlin Sandeno. She happens to be an Olympic gold medalist. She was in the pool, and she is going to share some amazing insights on what my dad used to teach me when I was a little girl about the difference between gold and silver. Kaitlin, welcome to Kim Daly TV.
I'm so excited to be here with you, Kim. Thank you for having me.
It's so amazing how two women come together, and we got on a Zoom. We were introduced by a mutual friend who thought maybe we should know each other, and we just became instant best friends.
You really knew how to set this up. It was perfect. I love like-minded women that support each other, so it's been fantastic to connect with you, Kim. Thank you.
It really has been great. And I'm so excited that you get to be my guest today. So why don't you formally introduce your swimming career and who you are to the followers of Kim Daly TV?
Yeah, my pleasure. So I competed in the 2000 and the 2004 Olympic Games for swimming. In 2000, I was just the veteran age of 17, and it was my first kind of major international swim meet, really. I made my first smaller international meet in 1999 when I was 16, and then the next year was the Olympics. So my debut onto this major swimming scene happened rather quickly, and at those Olympic Games in Sydney, Australia, I came home with a bronze medal and also placed 4th and 6th. So I was proud to say that I had qualified in 3 individual races, and I finaled in all 3 of them at the age of 17. I learned so much at those Olympic Games, but more importantly, I got one taste of the Olympics, and I just wanted to go back for another. And so I trained for the 2004 Olympic Games in Athens, Greece, which is just iconic in itself. And I'm proud to say I came home with a gold, silver, and bronze medal, and a world record and an American record. And I also placed 4th as well. So 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, American record, world record. And then I retired in 2008. I was trying to make my 3rd Olympic Games, and knee injury, illnesses. And I knew that year was going to be my last year competitive swimming. I was just hoping for the hat trick and hoping for my 3rd Olympics. But I learned so much and just have like a plethora of experiences and knowledge and things that I learned. And I love sharing that. I love the insight that I have from in the pool and out of the pool. And I think it's just really relatable in day to day and in business life. And I love being able to pass on kind of like little words of wisdom and hope to inspire and encourage others.
It's so good. Did you hear what she said, guys? We're talking to an Olympic gold medalist. Here she is, right here in my studio. I'm so excited to know you. It's so amazing because your mindset is what drives, right? Every single person who gets in that pool, every single franchisee who says yes to the dream to own a business wants to be the winner. Nobody sets out to fail. Right. So what makes some people rise to the top and others not? That's the question that holds so many people back from business ownership dreams, because they focus more on why it isn't going to work at the expense of all of the time and energy that they could put into figuring out why is it going to work. So before we get to Kaitlin and kind of jump into this mindset, what she learned from one Olympics to the next that drove her from bronze to gold, I want to remind you all my story. So I was 8 years an average performing consultant. I was an average performing franchisee for 8 years. And then 1 year later, back in 2011, I did 3.5 times more revenue. So it wasn't that my skill dramatically increased from 2010 to 2011 and created this amazing result. The economy certainly wasn't in like a stellar place back in 2010 and 2011. It was nothing external to me. It was everything inside of me. It was a small shift in my focus, in how I prioritized my time, and on setting a bigger goal. Those 3 things changed my life forever. And that's what I want Kaitlin to share, because I think that that's the difference between gold and silver. So you tell from your perspective, Kaitlin, what were the things that you learned and that you applied that you think led you to that gold medal?
Absolutely, Kim. So I think the first thing that resonated when you said setting a goal. So I went to my first Olympics in 2000, and immediately the goal was make another Olympic team. And so for us, the Olympics only happen every 4 years. So you have 4 years of rise and grind. And with a lot of rising and grinding, there's a lot of injuries and illness and setbacks and obstacles. And I call them speed bumps because they slow you down. It's not a stop sign, but little things that kind of get in the way, and it makes you reevaluate. And I can't help but imagine that happens a lot in the franchise world. So for me, I tend to say the difference between good and great is how you bounce back from adversity. So between 2000 and 2004, I had a severe shoulder injury. I had a back injury that nobody knew what was wrong with me for like 8 months. It was a wild goose chase. Turned out to be an intercostal stress fracture, which is like so hard to heal. I have asthma. I was in a car accident. I went to college and put on the freshman 20. And then just like the burnout of the sport. So I had just speed bump, like, and times where I'm like, do I even want to do this anymore? Like, this is so hard. This is so, it's not fun. Like, speed bumps aren't fun. And I was losing that love for the sport that I had, but it always came back to that initial goal, make another Olympic team. And so it was that goal that kept me on pace or on track, even when I was having these speed bumps. So maybe the pace was off a little bit, but I mean, luckily for me, I do have those 4 years in between. But it's the mindset of how you rebound after the injury, after the illness. And I'm determined, I'm stubborn, I'm feisty. And you know what? I like to be a dark horse too. It's like you said, you're kind of just, steady, and then all of a sudden just took off. I love when eyes aren't all on me. It's like, because then I could just really focus on myself and then just show up and just surprise everybody and just blow them out of the water, And so it was that drive of wanting to make a second Olympic team that kept me going through all this. And it's positive attitude. And I know that's so cliche and so easy, but like, it's all up here. It's all in between the ears. Obviously, you have to have it in your heart. You have to have that will and that desire to go after these massive monster dreams, but it's how you're going to rebound when you do have setbacks, because you're going to. Everybody's going to. That's life and that's reality. And how are you going to like step up when like the cards aren't really going your way?
Hey, Daly Coach fans, if you're loving this episode, please do me a quick favor and leave me a 5-star rating and a short review. Your feedback fuels my growth and rankings and shows others that this podcast is valuable. Now, back to the show. Yeah, so beautifully said. So in the practical application of this, did you spend any time with a visualization coach or visualizing the dream of being the gold winner? I'm curious, did you have daily affirmations? So, because you're so right, I'm going to equate what you just said to business ownership and then come back to those questions. Because, look, people wait for the perfect time to start a business. Like, oh, there's a recession, I should wait. No, you get in when you get in. Because if you get in at the hardest moment, guess what? When it gets easier, you have the skill, right? And you never have to worry about these external factors impacting your ability to be successful. You just get in. And the greatest thing about a franchise is all the mentors and coaches that are built in, and you don't have to solve all of these problems on your own, right? So I love the rise and grind. I mean, that is owning a business, right? It is rise and grind. The mountaintop moments are few and far between. The gold medal day is few and far between. But in order to stand on the podium and win and have that gold medal put on your shoulders, you had to rise and grind over and over over and over and over and over, right? To have that moment. And that's the same thing with owning a business. Everybody thinks about the mountaintop of like when I get there, but like it's the journey that you're really in this for. It's the journey of who you get to become, the ups and downs, and to what you said, the character that's developed as you hit the speed bumps and the attitude with which you get up or don't get up. That's what determines whether you ever get to that podium and get the gold medal. So amazing. There was so much gold in there. Like, I mean, literally, like a little bit of a punny thing to say, but it's true. So let's go back. So I want to know practically, like, how do we apply this as people who want to be great at anything? Did you use a visualization coach? Do you do affirmations? What are the things that sets you apart?
Right. Well, I think the first thing you have to keep in mind with what you were just describing too is that if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And it's like, there's not a lot of Olympic gold medalists out there. Like I heard the stat one and I was like, oh, wow, I'm very few and far between. And the same with people that own successful businesses, you know, it's like.
And she's my new best friend, guys. So just saying. I'm sorry to interrupt you, guys.
So it's like,
I'm claiming her.
Yeah, exactly. Tap, tap, tap. You have to have this mindset that, you know, you're going to have the hard days, you're going to have the obstacles, and how are you going to handle those? So going back to what we did, you know, we did some visualization when I was on my club team. So I was still in high school, but I don't think I was that mature of an athlete at that time to really soak that all in. I was like, oh, sweet. We get to like close our eyes and like take a little rest, you know? But I do think it's like a way that I'm like hardwired. I do think that I was born with a fire and I was born with this competitiveness that I don't think you can really teach. I think you have it or you don't. I think coaches can help bring it out because I did a lot of swim coaching and you see it. I would see it in athletes like you have it, you don't, you have it. Oh, your parents want you to have it, but you don't have it. And it's there, you know, and it's like, I believe I was born to be an athlete. I was born with this competitive firedness. I had seasons when the fire was more extreme than others. And I think that's very natural. It's hard to keep that fire all the time.
Sure.
Burnout happens to everyone. And so for me, Kim, I set like a very kind of like obvious broad goals, make the Olympic team. But other than that, I wasn't a huge goal setter because the way I was hardwired was work really hard and good things will happen. And that's like rise and grind. And I recently had dinner with my club coaches and they were like laughing. They're like, Kaitlin, you were so naive. Like you just did like everything we said. And like, I don't think you realized how hard these workouts were that we were giving you. And you just did them. You didn't complain. You thanked us afterwards. And we saw you the next day. They're like, you just continued to show up. And that's just, again, the way I was raised, the way I was hardwired. I had respect for my elders, didn't question. My parents were my parents. My coaches were my coaches. I did what I was told and amazing things happened. And I know that sounds very easy and there's more to it, obviously. But I feel like if you're dedicated to something, you have that coach. It takes a village. It takes a tribe. Listen to your coach and go. And, you know, for me and owning a business, it's not just what you do on the job site or that day or in work, it's what you do out of it as well. So for me, going to bed early, proper nutrition, staying grounded and well balanced. I think that's really important. I think balance is a key component to everyday life. Praise God for my parents for not being like, all you're going to do is swim. Like I was class president, I was in yearbook, I was going to the mall, I was going to homecoming, I planned our winter formal because there's more to life than swimming, right? And obviously when you own a business, I'm sure it's all consuming, but there's balance, right? You need to have your family, your priorities, your faith, your social outputs. How are you going to ground? How are you going to like be centered? And I think, you know, it sounds overwhelming, but that's part of the difference of good and great. You know, how do you find the balance? How are you going to make sure that your self-care is being taken care of so you can show up here because that's what's so important. So for me, Kim, you know, I did work with coaches, but more on the physical side, definitely within the pool, in the gym, physical therapy. Mindset didn't really become that huge into my life until actually after I was done with swimming. That's when I needed a lot more help because it's like, oh, wow, I was at the pinnacle of my sport at 21 years old. I retired when I was 25. Now what do I do? You know, and that's a whole different mindset that you have to figure out. I'm still hardwired as a competitive athlete and it shows up in my business life, but a lot of my identity, even though I was well-rounded, was in being a swimmer. So how do I transition those skill sets to the real world? Because like I said, sports end. And so more of that mature side of, you know, journaling, coaching, counseling started after my swimming career, really.
It's going to be so amazing to see what you end up applying all of that energy and focus to. It's like I'm sitting over here smiling ear to ear because this woman doesn't even really know how she got to that Olympic gold. But like I know because I listened to her and I'm just like, oh my gosh. What makes it so absolutely beautiful is how simple it actually is, right? So we do tend to complicate things that we think are like major, mountaintops. But I will tell you that was the exact same experience in my business of rising from the average group to history making in my industry, to the gold medal, if you will, of franchise consulting 1 year later, was a shift in my mindset. But listen, I always say I'm just a little girl from New Hampshire who's a nutritional biochemistry major with a sports nutrition minor. I don't have any big fancy business degree. I didn't go to Harvard. I never built a pro forma before I started my first business. Like, laugh if you want, but I've made history and repeated history and broken history, my own history, again and again and again in my franchise. So it just shows me, and hopefully you, that it's not about the education you have, it's about the mindset you have. And it's about the ability to set a really big goal and not be afraid of it, but to do like Kaitlin did, to do like Kim did, and break it down as simply as possible and just attack it. Right? She just woke up and did what she had to do every day. I woke up every day for 1 year. I put my head down. Oh, I love what you said about the dark horse. Yeah. So there is something magical about just doing what you do and not telling anybody. I've learned this over and over and over in my life and in my successes in life. The more people I tell, the more heady it becomes, the more my ego gets in the way.
Absolutely.
So my coach or my mentor knows and I know, and that's it. Exactly. And then the rest is just head down and do it. The world will see what you're doing when you get the Olympic gold. They'll know, wow, what was she doing that we didn't know she was doing, right? You don't have to go bragging about what you're doing.
Right.
Make sure you prove that it works before you do it, right?
Absolutely.
But it's more about the energy around it and how I think taking feedback from people around us and messes up our clean, simple energy. And for me anyway, like when I set ridiculous goals, like it's like embarrassing almost if I say them out loud, but like I know what I'm capable of and I trust myself and I know that I will figure it out. And so I don't brag on what I'm doing. I just put my head down and I do the hard work every single day. So what we learned here was it's focus. Some of it you're born with. I agree with that. That fire in you, that competitive nature. Every franchisor I ever interviewed always said that. When I say, what's the number one quality you're looking for? Competitive drive or grit. It's the same thing. Yep. Got to be a little gritty, right? You said fiery. I love that. Mm-hmm. So, and then it's just having good workouts, right? Having a good plan that progressively increases your skill. That's where the franchisor and their toolbox and business plan comes in. And then the rest is head down, set your goal, head down, focus, and consistency. So it's that tenacity to stay in it when it's hard and when it's easy, but the tenacity to stay because you have that goal and you believe in yourself.
Yeah. And I like what you said, Kim, too. You can't be afraid. And that is something that I love to talk about because I was never afraid to fail because I felt unconditionally loved. And when you're unconditionally loved, you have self-confidence that you just go for it. And that all goes to my parents. And so I knew first place, last place, it didn't matter. I was still loved. My self-worth or what my worth was not only when I won gold medals. So I think that is kind of a more complex go down the rabbit hole. But what you said, you can't be afraid because when you start being afraid, that's exactly when you're going to start limit yourself. And so that is a component of confidence because you have to have the confidence to just go. And I think confident people are gritty. So it's all these kind of like spider webs that all connect and having that confidence in yourself that if I fail, this doesn't mean I'm not worthy. Just means I have to try plan B.
Yeah.
And then maybe plan C and go down that way. So
yeah, but you have to have them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's just like, you're loved, go for it, put yourself out there. And I think that's really important for parents to hear, like on all aspects, just showing your child unconditional love, I think is probably the biggest thing that you could provide your child because then they aren't afraid to fail. They go for it.
Hey, Daly Coach fans, if you're ready to begin your own journey to find the perfect franchise, please email me right now at inquire@kimdaly.tv. My services are totally free for you. That's inquire@kimdaly.tv. Now, back to the show. In any relationship you're in, it's such a great point. But going back to what I was saying about not really telling too many people, if nobody really knows what your ostentatious goals are, then you don't have to defend yourself to anybody. And if you do fail a little bit or it doesn't work out exactly like you thought the first time you try, no one's looking at you but you. So you have less ego involved in the whole thing anyway, and that allows you to just fail forward. So the real failure is in quitting. But in anything we attempt to do in life, we're not going to be good at it from day one, right? You're only going to get good at it when you commit to getting good, right? Which sounds ridiculous, but it is a commitment. And I never stop. Like, I mastered my business in 2011. And I say I've spent the last 13 years mastering the art of what I did that 1 year and continuing to grow it and refine it and get better so I can work smarter rather than harder. There's always ways to improve and grow. I've had to change friend groups. I had to find people that thought differently, thought bigger, made more money, could challenge me in new ways so I could find new ways to stay within the business I'm in, but keep growing, keep thinking differently about what I do. So as you grow and you climb this ladder, your mindset changes and what you expect of yourself changes. And I'm telling everybody out there, these are the things that create the person you are striving to be when you say you're a business owner, when you say you're a gold medalist. The gold medal represents the work you put in, but it doesn't necessarily represent the journey of how you got there. But when you look back on your life, it's the journey that gives you the greatest joy, not the momentary pleasure. Although I'm sure it was amazing to have that, the Star Spangled Banner there, playing and that Olympic gold medal. I'm sure we can't take anything away from that moment.
Honestly, though, I don't remember that moment as much as I remember the journey, because that moment happened so quick, in a blink, so many emotions. It's a blur, but I can think back to the journey between 2000 and 2004 and see that more clearly than I can that moment on the podium.
That's so good.
It was special, but it's the grind and like all the obstacles that I remember more.
You know what? Like, people worry about when you start a business, they worry about the obstacles, and they make the obstacles the objection to moving forward. But I'm like, the objection stops you. The obstacle, we can just figure out how to maneuver around it. Like you said, it's just a speed bump unless you make it the end of your journey, right? There's so many great, amazing life lessons. And I knew that this would happen if you and I turned on the camera and recorded this conversation. I seriously, like, if we were neighbors, like, I'd be bringing you a cup of sugar every day because I just want to steal a little bit of your mindset every single day. Greatness appreciates, I strive to be great in everything I do. And I would just want to like saddle up next to you because I appreciate the greatness that's in you. And I appreciate the genuine simplicity in which you share how you got there, because it's literally what I say about how I've done what I've done. I think the more complicated we make it's just not necessary. It really is as simple as the things we've talked about today.
A lot of times we get in our own way. And so it's like, if you push all that out of the way and just strip it down to how simple it can be, and then everything's figure outable. I love that phrase. Everything's figure outable. Maybe in the moment it doesn't seem like that this is impossible. I can't get over this. Everything's figure outable.
It's so true. Everything is figure outable. Oh, Kaitlin, I'm so glad you were my special guest today. Thank you so much for blessing me and my audience with your gold, your Olympic gold.
Thank you so much. It's a true pleasure, and good luck to everybody out there.
Thank you. For those of you who are inspired to begin your journey to find the perfect franchise opportunity, you know that I want to be your daily coach. Please follow the email on the screen right now or reach directly out to inquire@kimdaly.tv. That's inquire@kimdaly.tv. And until next time, my name is Kim Daly, and I want to be your daily coach. You can find more content just like this on my YouTube channel at kimdaly.tv. And if you're inspired to take the next step to explore franchises matched to you, please email me right now at inquire@kimdaly.tv. That's inquire@kimdaly.tv.